reptilians. You have the Greys. You have the Aryans. You have the Sumerians. They're different. They look different of each other. They're different levels of demons. They exist. Well, David Icke, keep in mind, when you say someone is a controlled opposition, it doesn't mean they're lying. It means they're telling 80-90% lies, the truth, and they're telling 10 to 15% lies. The truth pulls you in. They're good speakers. They're trusting looking. Wolf in sheep's clothing. You believe them, then they must be telling the truth about this as well. Not so. You'll find that David Icke is an understudy of Jordan Maxwell. Jordan Maxwell, who claims to be a Christian and of course is not. And how can you say that? Well, by his fruits. It's very easy. But Jordan Maxwell is a New Ager who understudied Spangler and Bassett and Helena Blavatsky. They're all in the same little study group, if you will, of the New Agers. David Icke identifies the royal family in his lectures as reptilian, so forth and so on. Now, for the average person, they're going to think he's a fruitcake. For the people that see him as an icon, understand what he's talking about, and those of us that knows about the Nephilim can believe it, but also know he is a New Ager because he never speaks about Jesus Christ, and he's an understudy of the ones I've told you about. It's perceived in so many different ways. Well, here's the tricky part. Okay, hang with me here. This is going to get touch and go. You're saying, well, wait a minute. If he's controlled opposition, why is he exposing the enemy? I'll tell you why. I'm glad you asked. Because there are different factions of angels fighting each other. Good timing there. I'll be back. I'll explain this when we get back. And Masons and Jesuits, Illuminati that lives in the United States have set it up. You do have a faction or a rebel army somewhere. I don't know. It's all set up. I'm not part of it. I don't care. But there is a rebel group. Okay, here we go. I have to say I believe in this. I believe. It is my opinion, what I'm getting ready to tell you. Sorry. We know the supernatural exists. We know that the angels can take on physical form. That's even in the Bible. And we know there's different species of demons and different species of angels, and they look different. And the beings in this angelic, in this spiritual realm are fantastic. I mean fantastic as amazingly, they're different. Something you cannot imagine from this physical world we live in. They exist in another dimension of time and space. How is that? Physical beings, the bodies have frequencies. It's frequencies. And radiation keeps these particles together to cover that spiritual body of yours. Kind of like throwing paint over the invisible man, if you will. And when you increase or decrease the frequency of your molecules, quarks, protons, whatever the heck it is, you actually can enter a portal into the next dimension that equals the same frequency that you are now placed at. That is not about Buck Rogers. This is a principle that Satan and the angels know about. It's inside this energy envelopment that we are in. The physical world. So the angels that rebelled from God, rebelled against God. Satan and the third of the heavens rebelled. Not to demean it or make it sound funny, but I don't mean it to sound funny, but their frequencies were changed by God, and they were demoted, if you will. In other words, they were thrown down from the highest level of heaven into another level in the air and others in the ground. It's in the Bible. We cannot see them because our frequencies of our particles is not the same level that they are. We cannot go into that dimension as we are now. Our bodies have to be changed. Our bodies have to have, in the case of the hybrids, the reptilians, you get to where I'm going with this, has to have a genetic material called vril, V-R-I-L. It's a copper-based genetics to be able to go from one dimension to the next. If we were trying to do that in our human level, we would have spontaneous combustion, or would virtually explode or just burn up, because our bodies are not designed to go through the portal of that much electromagnetic energy. You see how that works? Okay. That being said, your hybrids, your Nephilim, your humans with vril genetics, blue bloodline, that can transform in some cases. Good cop, bad cop. David Icke exposes the quote-unquote reptilians, the blue bloodline, the Queen Elizabeth group, and so forth. The average man would think, oh, that is such nonsense. The people that know about the supernatural will say, aha, this guy's such a truth teller. But he's not. He forgets to tell you about Jesus Christ. But what is his purpose? And the purpose of identifying Prince William as the Antichrist leaves it open for Jesus, Sananda Emmanuel, and the Sid Master to be Christ. They snuck in that bloodline. Go figure. A Merovingian in a woodpile. But they present Buddha with a title as well, and it placed him in a superior position. And it should be pointed out that the hierarchy, as named in the Signs of the Christ by Harold Balliotz, who's dedicated his book to Helena Blavatsky. You see the names come around. Helena Blavatsky knew Albert Pike. They worked together. She was 20 years younger than he was. They knew each other. They referred to Christ, in quotes, therefore it's not always the person of Jesus. And they tell us that Christ came to show us the love of God, but Buddha came to bring us enlightenment. And Krispy Kreme donuts, probably. They go out of their way to suggest that the Bible has been misinterpreted, and its true meaning was lost through the centuries. Oh, it has. From the Latin Vulgate and the corrupted translation that the Roman Catholic Church uses through Constantine, Eusebius, Jerome, but they didn't touch the copies of the scrolls that the Waldenese had from Antioch. They went to the Alps. Throughout the Dark Ages, God preserved his true holy word. That became the Textus Receptus, later to become the King James Bible. Because the King James Bible comes from a completely separate stream of translation than the one of the Roman Catholic Church, which comes from the Latin Vulgate, coming from Origen's translation. You see how that worked? You have two different streams of translations. Surprise, surprise, surprise. God preserved his word. He took his copies of the scrolls, original scrolls of eyewitnesses to Jesus Christ and to God, and they took his word from Antioch, Syria, because they were getting hammered. They were converting people, by the way. And what they did, they hightailed it. Excuse me, I'm in Mount Airy, North Carolina. They skedaddled from Antioch has your King James, it's not the same as all the others at all. But they got to say the Bible's misinterpreted. It's been lost. Sacred scriptures of the East, can they still be trusted? Well, the hierarchy revealed to the occultists, the hierarchy, by the way, you want to know where they are? They're in Tibet. You know where? Some dadgum mountain up there, floating around with bald heads, I guess. I don't know what. But they're called the hierarchy. Supreme Council, the 10 wise men. And there's another 9 group or something of that nature. They are the channelers between the falling angels and the world servers. The Black Pope in the Vatican, head of the Jesuits, Society of Jesus, has a direct link to Lucifer. Now, we're getting exact here. Adolfo is the Black Pope, one evil individual. Cardine was the father of New Age. He was a Jesuit priest. White chicken comes home to roost, does it not? The hierarchy revealed to the occultists, the New Age, is the teachings intended to condition the world for the New Age, known as the Aquarian Age, or the New World Order. Nova Ordo Seclorum. You will find that on the back of your dollar bill. Imagine that. And not acceptas, it's acceptable. Nova Ordo Seclorum. New World Order on the back of your dollar bill, with a pyramid and the seeing eye of Satan above the pyramid. That's exactly what it is. You ever heard of the Age of Aquarius? You ever heard the song Aquarius? I won't sing it for you. I won't lose listeners that way. They have set you up through music, the New Age movement through the 60s, all along. It's all been pre-planned. You know where it's planned? I'll tell you when it's planned. It's planned in the 40s and 50s through Tavistock think tanks in England. And the first attack was the Beatles, using the music to change the music. Elvis Presley. I kid you not. Think of the conditions and the problems they had after they did their ditty. Elvis had horrendous problems. He carried a gun. He took karate. You know why? Because he was doing the deeds of the devil. God, I hate saying that because he's my favorite. I used to stand in front when I was 7 years old, in front of the fireplace, and put on a jacket and a fake, stupid-looking little guitar, and I'd pretend like they'd take pictures of me. Oh, isn't he cute? Blah, 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 blah. And I was Elvis, shaking my hips at 7 years old. I'm not kidding you at all. The Beatles, if you look at their occult terms, if you look the way Elvis did, he came from a Christian background in Tennessee, and he was having some severe problems with this later in life. Satan started calling him in, and he came from a Christian background, and it was eating him up inside. And he became paranoid, and rightfully so, because they tend to kill you when you don't do what they want. Tupac found that out. Michael Jackson found that out. Marley found that out. Many have found that out. Oh yeah. Look it up. John Todd, rock and roll music and how it's tied to the occult. It will shock you. It's all been set up all along. Now, here we go. There's 3 categories, and preparatory was given. Listen to me now. 3 categories of the New Age, of the Aquarian Age, was given in 3 categories. 1 was preparatory, given from 1875 to 1890. That was Helena Blavatsky brought that in. Helena, she was also Hitler's favorite option.
Hello, God. If we're still on speaking terms, can you help me like before?